So today, lads, we're going to be talking about Sydney Colson, and she went on to Aaliyah Boston's podcast yesterday and talked about the kind of negativity that she received from being a part of the Indiana Fever. And we all kind of know that that's something that is.
Sydney Colson's recent admission supports the concerns surrounding the Indiana Fever. During an interview with Aaliyah Boston, she admitted to receiving more hate after joining the Fever than in her entire career. Only her signing with Indiana caused people to turn against her. Even a seasoned player, well-liked in the league, was shocked by the harsh remarks. Should WNBA players be criticized for joining the Indiana Fever?
Whether I'm playing, we want things to look like what we want them to look like. And I knew coming into this season, once people started talking, once I was here and experiencing it, like, people had a lot to say. There was a lot of negativity.
When Sydney Colson appeared on Aaliyah, the WNBA wished Boston's podcast hadn't exposed stunning information. Colson acknowledged the criticism she endured after joining the Indiana Fever. Instead, she was honest about it. She admitted that joining the Fever organization led to her being openly disliked for the first time in her career. That's an outrageous revelation that verifies the problems Fever players have encountered during the season, which the majority have been reluctant to openly disclose. Colson clarified that although she was aware that joining the Fever may draw attention, she wasn't ready for the degree of hate she truly encountered. She remarked that people had generally praised her during her career. She is highly recognized for being affable and amusing. Even when some others didn't find her comedy humorous, it wasn't because they didn't share her sense of humor. Rather, it was a difference of taste. However, all of that was significantly transformed by joining the Fever. She was now receiving waves of criticism from people who had never previously had an issue with her.
I just looked at it like, I'm not used to this. Typically, I'm the person that people are just like, oh, we love Sid, that's funny, blah, blah, blah. Some people be like, not funny, and I'm like, they don't have a sense of humor. But like, for the most part, for the most part, people have liked me and have admired me from the outside. But that's never made me do the things I do. Like, I do the things that I do because I enjoy my teammates, because I like comedy, because I like whatever I'm doing, not for other people's approval. So once I got here and was experiencing people's disapproval, it didn't really faze me because I still understood. I think I understood even more so.
The fact that Colson is a seasoned player with years of experience in the league is what makes her words so important. She has participated in games for various teams. She has encountered many conditions in locker rooms. She is not a young athlete who has no idea what normal looks like. Therefore, it is credible when she reports that the hate she faced after joining the Fever was unlike anything she had ever encountered. She has a point of comparison. Furthermore, the way that fans and other players reacted to her hiring makes the Fever scenario very poisonous. Colson reiterated that nothing she did was the cause of the hostility. Her link with the Fever was the only reason why people detested her. That's the main idea. She remained the same person. She didn't suddenly lose her charm or sense of humor. She didn't do anything problematic or contentious. The only thing she did wrong was sign a deal with Indiana. And that was plenty for everyone to absolutely loathe her. That shows how deeply some WNBA fans and possibly other players dislike the Fever.
Taking you for no reason, I'm probably exactly where I need to be. So once the injury happened, I'm like, once again, this is something that I don't fully get, but this must be where I need to be, sidelined. And it made me an even more vocal leader. It made me pay attention to things maybe that I wasn't paying attention to that other people had going on. So I could be more tapped into if they're having a hard time and I need to come over here and help them out, whether it's mental, physical, whatever. I had to get outside of me. And that was the lesson that I learned in this. I hope it's the one that God wanted me to learn, but yeah, it was just one of those things that, nobody wants that to happen, but you still have to move forward and figure out a way to still be, of service to your.
The intriguing component is Colson's reaction to the processing of that hatred. She remarked that when she saw that others were condemning her without cause, it greatly encouraged her that she was at the proper place. It's usually an indication that you're doing something well or that you're in a position that puts people who don't want you there in danger. Colson begins to comprehend that she was not the target of the hostility. It was about the significance of the fever and how the team's achievements jeopardize the established order that certain people are committed to upholding. Additionally, Colson acknowledged her sincere wish to play for the Fever. She didn't sign this out of reluctance or as a last choice because she couldn't get a better bargain. In particular, she desired to be in Indiana. She was fond of Kelsey Mitchell and undoubtedly discussed the team culture with her. She realized that she and Caitlin Clark would likely get along because they are similar individuals. She thought her personality and playing style would fit nicely with the Fever. That makes the hatred she was subjected to much more absurd. People penalized her for picking Indiana because she wanted to be there. Colson's experience was further complicated by the fact that she had to deal with an injury during the season. She had to lose a lot of time owing to a meniscus injury. In any event, it is annoying to be ignored when you have recently joined a new team and are attempting to build a name for yourself.
That's something that's happening with all these players. Is like they're just not in any way happy as long as they have to publicly hate the Fever. And you know, the only way you can get back into these people's good graces is by pulling a Dawana Bonner. By just not playing for the Fever anymore, it doesn't matter. You have to pull a Dawana.
However, it becomes much more difficult to deal with it while also being inundated with undeserved animosity from supporters and potentially covert animosity from players on opposing teams. According to Colson, the injury made her an even more outspoken leader and made her more conscious of her comrades' struggles in order to better encourage them. That remark about encouraging teammates is crucial because it implies Colson realized that her feverish coworkers were also facing difficulties and negativity that might not have been visible from the outside. She projected herself as someone who could encourage her teammates emotionally and psychologically during hard times. That's what a seasoned leader does, and the Fever needed it. However, it also shows that Colson wasn't the only victim of the chemicals intended at the Fever. Numerous players on the team were impacted, and they sought aid to cope with the unfair hate directed at them. It's good that Colson was prepared to publicly acknowledge that she was loathed for no obvious reason. The majority of players dodge that truth. Some negative will be acknowledged, but it will be minimized or explained away. Colson just explained it. Because she joined the Fever, she was despised by many. Completely stop. There was no other explanation. This candor is crucial because it confirms what Fever supporters have been saying throughout the season. The way Fever players and supporters are handled is abnormal. It goes beyond ordinary rivalry or competition in sports. It's more intimate and unpleasant. Particularly intriguing is the likeness to Dana Bonner that is brought up in conversations about this. When Bonner recovered from the sickness, the animosity towards her immediately vanished. Since she was no longer associated to Indiana, she was accepted back into the good graces of the greater WNBA community. This trend implies that the hatred isn't actually directed at certain players or their behavior. It concerns the Fever organization in general and Caitlin Clark's affiliation with it in particular. When a player joins the Fever, that connection taints them and leaves them open to hate that has nothing to do with them personally. For some players, this puts them in an impossible predicament. They are unable to prevail. If they triumph on the court, they are accused of taking advantage of favorable treatment or riding Clark's coattails. If they struggle, they are made fun of for being liabilities who inhibit the team's progress or for not being able to keep up with Clark. They are accused of being phony or attempting to capitalize on Clark's notoriety if they support her or talk highly about the team atmosphere. They are accused of being envious or failing to support their colleague if they remain silent, since the animosity is illogical in the first place. There is no way to placate the bigots. Colson's remarks also highlight how the Fever have turned into the most divisive team in WNBA history. They receive more hate and love at the same time than any other team. Major market teams in other sports roles. Similarly, you will be adored by your followers and detested by everyone else. If you play for the Lakers, Yankees, or Cowboys, the scrutiny and attention are intensified. Every error is blown out. Every achievement is discounted or attributed to advantages rather than aptitude. Being on a team that matters more than others is like that. The distinction is that in those other leagues, joining the controversial club is often a decision that requires knowledge of what you're committing to. The players understand what it means to be a Yankee or a Laker. They are aware of the attention and strain that accompany it. The amount of attention and hate the team receives is unmatched in WNBA history. So, players in 2024 and 2025 may not have known what they were entering into in ways that could not have been totally predicted. Clark's debut drastically transformed what it meant to play for Indiana. Colson's remarks show a poisonous part of WNBA fan culture that is extremely detrimental to the league's expansion. Leadership must address the issue when players are unable to sign with particular teams without experiencing hostility and animosity for no justifiable reason. The WNBA ought to be commemorating the fact that one of its teams has grown to be so well-known and significant that it receives widespread attention. Rather than growing behind a well-liked team and player, some fans appear to wish that the league remains small and specialized. It is especially upsetting for Colson to discover additional harsh remarks and insults thrown at her for joining the Fever. It goes beyond simply disagreeing with or criticizing her selections or playing style. It's insults and personal assaults that go beyond the bounds of appropriate debate. People are discouraged from participating in the sport by that kind of toxicity. Instead of being thrilling and inclusive, it makes the WNBA appear petty and unwelcoming. The fact that their players are being handled in this manner should disgrace league executives, but there hasn't been much of an attempt to address or call it out. Another illustration of how absurd the anti-Fever mood has gotten is the remark that Lexi Hull is also receiving hate. Hull is a dedicated worker who fulfills her tasks. She doesn't use bad language or stir up controversy. But just by being on the roster and having a close friendship with Clark, she receives vitriol. That is insane, because they play alongside a star, role players on well-known teams. However, in the contemporary WNBA atmosphere, being identified with the Fever, and Clark in particular, makes you a target. Colson's assertion that she does what she does because she enjoys her comrades rather than for the approval of others is an excellent method to deal with unreasonable hatred. People who detest you without cause cannot affect your decisions or make you sad. Colson is aware that the negativity tells more about the individuals behind it than it does about her. She is secure enough in herself to realize that and not allow it to alter the way she plays her part in the squad. Younger players may find it difficult to display that level of emotional maturity in the same circumstance. Based on how the season unfolded, it is true that teams disregarded the Fever and paid for it because they bought into the concept that the Fever were basically Clark and a group of uncompetitive role players. Some teams evidently underrated Indiana and anticipated easy victories. When the Fever showed up and played hard, performed well, and won games they weren't supposed to win, those teams were ashamed. Teams that didn't properly prepare or take Indiana seriously lost games as a result of the blatant disrespect. The pattern became even more obvious once Clark was sidelined due to an injury. Those games were easily won by teams that came up and gave it their best because the rest of the team was better than most people realized. Teams that felt they would win easily without the great player typically lost. That proves that the Fever were more than a one-player team, but the story had already been formed, and despite proof to the contrary, many teams and supporters refused to change their minds. It's a good idea to use the following tab on social media rather than the For You page, particularly the day following games. Professional athletes really shouldn't be devouring sporadic self-criticism on social media. The algorithm's purpose is to show you engagement, which frequently entails displaying the most unfavorable and inflammatory perspectives since those elicit responses. Be wise switching to following. You will only see items from individuals you have decided to follow, which you may curate to be constructive rather than detrimental. However, it is not practical to expect young athletes to stop using social media totally in the present day. Social media networks are the cornerstone of their brands. Their social media presence and involvement frequently decide how valuable their endorsements are. They are supposed to engage with fans and advertise their sponsors on the internet. For more real-time updates on WNBA business decisions, please like and subscribe.